So I would like to introduce our first speaker. He won a seat that had been held by the Labour Party since 1923. But an increase in our vote share of over 18% saw the incumbent of 30 years defeated. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to the first ever Conservative Member of Parliament for Mansfield, Ben Bradley.
Thank you, Conference. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I could never have expected to be here. A lot of people were very surprised to see Mansfield turn blue in June. Even the returning officer was taken by surprise, then announced a Labour win before giving me the incredible soundbite that will follow me for the rest of my career, which was, "I'm so sorry, but Ben Bradley has won." Mansfield is a former coalfield that's never had a Conservative MP before, and it's been Labour for almost 100 years, but actually locally quite a lot of people saw it coming. We'd been talking about Mansfield for almost a year about what we need to do to help turn a tide that we felt actually was waiting to be turned. There was Brexit, and in a seat where 72% of people voted to leave, that obviously played a massive role, but there was also Jeremy Corbyn, who's cut all ties to the traditional roots of his party and certainly doesn't speak for working people anymore. On a local level too, there was a tangible feeling that actually people had just been ignored. I've been a councillor for a few years and I've seen distrust of politicians of all colours, frankly, firsthand, but Mansfield is a special case. The previous Labour MP hadn't even uttered the word Mansfield in Parliament for more than 3 years. He talked about Bangladesh, he talked about dog meat, he'd never talked about Mansfield. So it's no wonder that people felt like they didn't have a voice. I work on the basis that if you don't tell people what you're doing, then actually they're going to assume you're doing nothing. So by embracing social media, going above and beyond to communicate on local issues, we brought people closer. And by being available and accessible for a chat, friendly or otherwise, we painted a positive picture that was a stark contrast with what came before. We have a lot of challenges, and I'm focusing on just a few. Combating homelessness is at the top of my agenda, regenerating our town centre, improving education and making sure it leads to rewarding work. The biggest challenge, though, is combating decades of negativity, of Labour representation that would rather talk the place down than try and make life better. Mansfield's a vibrant place. It's full of amazing people, hundreds of bright and positive groups and projects making brilliant things happen all the time. And we should shout about all of them and make sure people know that it's a great place to live, work and play. I was inspired to engage with politics because of just that kind of positive vision for the country. It was David Cameron's vision. I'm 27, so I'm not harking back to greener pastures in decades gone by. Actually, if you're going further back than Tony Blair, it's pretty much a history lesson for me. So it's David Cameron's vision that hooked me. But I've always been conservative, I suppose, without really realising, simply because I believe in helping people to help themselves and the importance of living within our means. But it was the Conservative Party's positive message about compassion and the big society that inspired me to actually get involved. I wasn't living the high life at the time. I dropped out of university. I was working as a landscape gardener, digging holes, mowing lawns in the day, behind a bar in the evening to keep myself going, until 2010 when I went back to university. I started to get involved with the party and to try and spread that positive message that had just seen us win the election that May. And that was the start of my journey, and I'm really proud to be a part of this Conservative Party now in government that has those same social goals and that same positive message, building a country that works for everyone. We're building a country that works for everyone and making their lives better in the future. But I guess what I'm trying to get across really is that a positive message will always overcome a negative one. We can look back at the election and talk about social media, what data we had, how many activists were on the ground, but actually the starting point should always be what is our positive vision? How are we going to make people's lives better? We have an amazing story to tell, record numbers of jobs, delivering on Brexit, finally taking on the challenge that Labour ignored to reform social care and our NHS. and so many more positive messages about why what we're doing is right for the country and how much we care about Britain and everybody in it. We need to harness that positive message and make sure everybody knows about it. And that means being proactive, making sure our logic and our compassion shine through. And that's how we'll inspire the next generation of Conservatives. Thank you.